This video is intended to be my final breakdown and full fight analysis and prediction ahead of Anthony Joshua versus Carlos Takam. Let's rewind about a week ago when the news was announced that Carlos Takam would be stepping up and taking Kubrat Pulev's position in the fight. At the time, I speculated in an early initial thoughts video that it was one of the best heavyweight matchups available at such short notice, which is a comment I stand by. You know, Carlos Takam for me, borderline top 10 heavyweight. You know, he's somewhere between number 8 and number 15 in terms of his ranking. He's performed with great credit whenever he stepped up to the world-class level. You know, took Joseph Parker very close, probably won 5 rounds against him in their fight. Was doing a good job against Povetkin, probably about even in that fight at the time Povetkin was able to secure the stoppage against Takam. So I think Takam is fairly decent. I don't think he's elite like Joshua is, but I do think he's fairly decent. And I think given the late notice withdrawal of Pulev, he was one of the best fights available. And I'm glad that it was happening. Now in that early thoughts video, I also speculated that whilst Eddie Hearn had Carlos Takam on some sort of reserve list with the promise of fighting in the Monaco next week, you know, the week following the AJ fight, I speculated that that wasn't quite the same as Carlos Takam being in a specific 8-week camp preparing for the biggest fight of his life against the consensus #1 heavyweight Anthony Joshua. You know, whilst Takam was expecting to fight, you know, 7 days later, he was expecting to fight against an opponent that was yet to be announced. You know, more than likely it would have been a sort of tick over or keep busy style opponent. So, you know, I kind of speculated in that video that, you know, maybe Carlos Takam wouldn't be in the best shape. And I got a few comments from people saying, you know, Carlos Takam always knew he was going to be in a fight. Anthony Joshua, however, thought he was going to be in a fight against a complete opposite opponent. And I would agree there's some sense to that, because Kubrat Pulev and Carlos Takam couldn't be more further apart in terms of style. As we know, Pulev, outside boxer, very much amateur basics, everything behind a jab, very tall, very long, very upright. Carlos Takam, not just a shorter guy, but a guy who fights really short. Going to be coming in, looking to get on the inside, looking to press the pace, looking to break Anthony Joshua down and grind away to his body and that sort of thing. So really is a completely different type of opponent who poses a completely different threat. And, you know, Joshua's taken on specific sparring ahead of this Kubrat Pulev fight. He was, for example, sparring with Robert Helenius, presumably because it's more that sort of tall, upright style. I don't really think Joshua's faced anyone like Carlos Takam. And I know Carlos Takam, he kind of is what he is. We know the level he's at, we know he isn't elite. But Joshua hasn't faced anyone who is really going to look to take the fight to AJ on the inside, which I believe is what Carlos Takam is going to do. And that's a test that, for me, could potentially be interesting, because we're yet to see Anthony Joshua have to have a fight like that. We're yet to see someone take the distance away from Joshua and sit on his chest and hit him to his body repeatedly. And there's an open question about how effective he will be against that sort of style. The 2 times Joshua's looked worst in his career were in the Klitschko fight and the Dillian White fight, where on both occasions he appeared to heavily gas, you know, and really run out of energy and stamina. And for me, if someone's got a stamina concern or a work rate concern, the kind of fighter who could be the absolute kryptonite to them is a guy like Carlos Takam. Takam, as I say, not only is he going to take away Joshua's range, but he's also got a very high work rate. He's also got a very, very high work rate. And what I often find is with big fighters like Joshua, who like working from long distance, when you actually take away the reins, the gas tank empties a hell of a lot quicker, because it means they're not allowed to control the pace of the fight. It means they're having to fight in a way that was unnatural to them. I mean, to give 2 examples, Vladimir Klitschko, you never, ever, ever saw him fight on the inside. He'd always look to close down because he wanted to have that long-range style. George Groves, another one, you know, best from range. Look how quickly his gas tank empties when someone's able to take him to the inside. So with Joshua, I still think there's an open question about what sort of inside game he has. And I think that could potentially be tested against Carlos Takam. Looking at Carlos Takam and watching his public workout yesterday, he does appear to be in legitimately good shape. You know, Hearn was saying that. that he wasn't good nick, and I was kind of taking it with a bit of a pinch of salt. Clearly Eddie Hearn is a promoter, but Takam looked good for me at the public workout. He looked full of energy, he looked in good condition, and yeah, I really liked what I saw from him, which was in contrast to what I saw from Robert Helenius. You know, I thought Helenius looked quite slow and ponderous, whereas I thought Takam looked quite light on his feet, putting punches together crisply and well. And you know, Takam for me looks in fairly decent nick for this fight. So I think it's actually an interesting fight. And now having seen Takam in the flesh and seen that he's in some sort of shape, I'll actually stick my neck out there and say potentially this will be a better fight than the Kubrat Pulev fight. I think Pulev's style wouldn't have gelled well with AJ's. I think Pulev would have literally looked to stand off AJ and fence with him from range, whereas I think Carlos Takam will come straight at him. I also think Carlos Takam is potentially a more durable fighter than Kubrat Pulev. You know, the one time Pulev's fought an A-grade puncher in Vladimir Klitschko, he was on the floor pretty quickly in that fight, and I suspect Joshua could have done the same to him. I expect Joshua, to be frank, would have steamrolled you know, Kubrat Pulev and got him out of there in the first half of the fight. With Carlos Takam, you know, maybe he's a lesser fighter than Kubrat Pulev. You know, maybe Kubrat Pulev is a more technically refined fighter with better skills. But stylistically, I think it's a better match. And I also think he's going to have greater durability, which I do think is key against a guy like Anthony Joshua. Clearly, a lot of advantages in this fight are for AJ. He's the reigning champion, he's undefeated, he's a lot younger, he's got all the momentum, home promoter, home judges, huge advantage in size, huge advantage in power. And clearly, Anthony Joshua goes into this fight as the favourite. But I don't completely rule Carlos Takam out. And the reason I don't rule him out is because it is a completely unknown question how Anthony Joshua will respond and how Anthony Joshua will fare under the kind of heat and kind of pressure that a fighter like Carlos Takam can bring when he's on his A game. The key for Carlos Takam is how can he get into the pocket, how does he do that, what punishment does he have to take en route into the pocket, and what damage will he be able to inflict there. If you go back and re-watch that Joseph Parker fight, you can almost neatly score the rounds. Parker wins every round he's allowed to spend on his bike, and he's allowed to spend utilising his jab and his long range work from range. Takam pretty much wins every round he's able to close down the gap. So I think that's key. Will Takam be able to get inside of the Anthony Joshua jab and inside of the Anthony Joshua long 1-2 to get into that Anthony Joshua engine room? And that's an open question. You know, Takam isn't the most technically refined. He is a smaller guy, and as he comes charging in, he's going to have to take a few risks. And with AJ's power and size and youth advantage over him, AJ could clip him, and you know, he could make Takam look rather basic. He could keep Takam outside of his jab. He could look to establish a Vladimir Klitschko type ramrod jab to keep him at range early on. And Takam just may not be able to live with the power if AJ is able to connect with him on the way in. It's an open question. But if Takam is able to get inside that jab, if he can get low, if he can do an element of the Joe Fraser, bob and weave, small man, small heavyweight style, and get inside Joshua's engine room, then I'm unclear on how Joshua will be able to deal with and close down a sustained inside and sustained bodied attack. Now, Joshua may have a great inside game. He may have a great inside defence. Who knows? He may be able to close down Takam by holding and by, you know, implementing an uppercut up short. Who knows? Who knows? It's an open question. You know, I have no reason to believe that Joshua hasn't got those skills, but what I would say is often with tall fighters who, you know, throw some of their best work from range and clearly have a good arsenal of power punches from range, sometimes there's a track record that they're not at their most comfortable and natural on the inside. So for me, that is the open question. And if Takam's able to do that, there is a possibility he could ask some real questions of Anthony Joshua and potentially make him look very, very bad in spells and highlight major weaknesses for future opponents. The key question for Joshua is, will he continue to gas? Because if he does, then a guy like Carlos Takam isn't without a chance. Although I would say Carlos Takam probably lacks the power that certainly a guy like Vladimir Klitschko had, that if he gets AJ hurt, he can have the power to really get him out of there. Having said that, Vladimir Klitschko failed to do that, and AJ kind of proved a level of toughness in that fight. But I do think those are the key questions, and there's a lot of rumours that AJ has come in a lot lighter for this fight. Apparently said about a stone from the Klitschko fight, having realised that was to his detriment. And if that is the case, and we'll do a video after the weigh-in tomorrow, regardless of whether it's the case or not. But if that is the case, I'd give some applause to Anthony Joshua, and I think that would be to his benefit. Certainly against a guy like Carlos Takam, you want to be fit, you want to be light, you want to have the ability to throw a lot of punches rapidly, and it's a key question for me going into this fight. All in all, if you're after a prediction, I've got to go with my head and say by far the most logical way this fight ends is by a Joshua knockout. Carlos Takam is going to have to be a little bit reckless. He's going to have to take the fight to Anthony Joshua, and he may well be running straight towards a speeding freight train. Joshua has shown to be a force of nature when he's allowed to put punches together, and Carlos Takam is going to need to show great defense and great durability when he's rushing in on Anthony Joshua, because I think if AJ catches him and is able to time him coming in, he could stop Takam. I also think Takam has no versatility. If Takam stands off and boxes with AJ, with his smaller size, I think AJ will be able to win the rounds fairly easily from range. So I think Takam, at some point, he's going to have to gamble and going to charge in. And I think that's where the risk lies for him, because whilst that's his best chance of winning, AJ's someone with underrated timing, and he does pick the right punch at the right time. AJ, that's something I would say for him. He's got good punch variety. He knows exactly which punch to throw at which angle and exactly how to time it. So that's a key question for me. That's one that I think is going to be really the key to deciding how this fight is solved. So I'm going to go Joshua by KO. I think on balance, he has just got too much for Carlos Takam. I think AJ will pick up the early rounds quite comfortably behind his jab and using his size. And I think when Takam elects to gamble, he's still quite raw. And I think AJ will probably time him, catch him. And I don't think Takam will be able to live with AJ's power. Is there a chance Carlos Takam could be exceptionally tough and go the distance? Absolutely. And if he does, I think he may cause Joshua some problems, because his style, for me, is a style that AJ hasn't had a lot of experience of in the pro ranks. And as I say, with AJ's propensity to gas in fights, someone like Carlos Takam could ask some real difficult questions. Does he have enough size, enough power, enough technique to beat AJ? I think he's got a chance, but I think his chance is small. I'm with Anthony Joshua by KO. It could actually be a surprisingly good fight for my money in terms of the styles, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Looking forward to the weigh-in tomorrow, looking forward to seeing what kind of shape both guys are in, particularly Anthony Joshua with the rumours of him losing so much weight. There will be a final video on this fight from me tomorrow, Friday evening, to discuss what I see at the weigh-in. In the meantime, many thanks for tuning into this video. Always appreciate you guys choosing to watch my channel. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so before. Please hit the thumbs up button to help me get some more visibility to this video, and leave your comments on this fight in the section below. Many thanks for tuning in.